Hello there. It's great to see you back in another mind-boggling video. Ever wondered how much it would cost to conquer the tallest volcano in the solar system? Or if the theory of evolution is actually just one big scam? Welcome back to the Brain Explosion Collection, Episode 5. If you believe in the theory of evolution, you're probably familiar with one of its biggest weaknesses, the scarcity of transitional fossils. The fossils that have traits of both ancestral and descendant species. Evolution theory suggests that modern humans evolved from ancient primates, meaning there should be some sort of classical primate that serves as a bridge between us and our ancestors. If evolution says that one species came from another, then it logically implies there must have been countless intermediate forms between species. And thus, we should have found many fossils of them, but such fossils known as transitional fossils are extremely rare. So, did aliens land on Earth and steal them all? People have been using this lack of evidence to argue against evolution for over a century, and it makes total sense. I mean, if your theory says X should be everywhere, but we dig and can't find X, then your theory has a problem, right?
Okay.
Even Darwin, the guy who laid the foundation of evolutionary biology, had to admit this weakness in his book On the Origin of Species back in 1859. And although Archaeopteryx, a fossil showing traits of both dinosaurs and birds, was discovered just 2 years later, and other transitional fossils have shown that life forms are indeed connected, evolution's status in the early 20th century hadn't significantly improved. Millions of people still believed that life was created by divine beings, rather than evolving from non-living matter. The game changed in 1912 when the fossil of a previously unknown prehistoric human was found, the Piltdown Man. Discovered in a gravel pit in Piltdown, Sussex, England, this fossil was the scientific equivalent of today's viral internet sensation. The scientific community was ecstatic. It was like finding a lifeboat while you're drowning. In a time when everyone was desperately searching for the missing link between humans and their ancient ancestors, Charles Dawson, an amateur British archaeologist, presented a remarkably convincing piece of evidence. Dawson claimed that workers at the gravel pit had broken a skull thinking it was just a rock, only to discover it was actually a human skull, dating back to the Pleistocene era. Dawson and his team later collected more fragments of the skull, a jawbone, and some teeth, which were identified as belonging to a human ancestor that lived around 500,000 years ago. It was grandly named Euanthropus dawsoni, or Dawson's Dawn Man, in honor of the amateur archaeologist. But a significant discovery found purely by chance, just when people needed it the most, naturally raised some suspicions. Fast forward 41 years to 1953, Time magazine published evidence proving that Piltdown Man was a complete fraud. It was a concoction made from 3 different species. The skull of a medieval human, the jawbone of a 500-year-old orangutan, and the teeth of a chimpanzee. Someone had used iron and chromic acid to stain the bones, to give them the appearance of age, and they even ground down the teeth to make them look more human. In 1949, new dating technology also revealed that the Piltdown fossils were only about 50,000 years old, ruling them out as a missing link between apes and humans because 50,000 years ago, we were already rocking our modern human look. So what was once a groundbreaking discovery, the Piltdown Man became one of the biggest hoaxes in the history of anthropology and science as a whole. This doesn't mean the theory of evolution is shaky or should be thrown out the window. On the contrary, the exposure of the Piltdown hoax after 40 years only reinforces the integrity and reliability of science. Science seeks evidence that is accurate, not just convenient. But what do you think? Do you believe that life evolved from non-living matter? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you're a bit of a space nerd, or maybe just love some cool trivia, you've probably heard of Olympus Mons. It's the tallest volcano on Mars, and in fact, the tallest volcano on any planet, standing 13.6 miles high. It's about 2.5 times the height of Mount Everest when measured from sea level. Comparing Everest to Olympus Mons is a bit unfair, since Mars doesn't have oceans. Everest's height is measured from sea level to its peak, while Olympus Mons' height is calculated from its foot to the summit, based on Mars's average surface elevation. On Earth, the average ocean depth is about 12,000 feet. So if you drained the seas, Everest would actually be around 40,000 feet tall. But even then, Olympus Mons would still tower over it by about 1.75 times. And if we were to host a mountain championship on Earth, Everest might actually snag a medal. If Everest's height was measured from the bottom of the Mariana Trench, it would reach a whopping 19.8 miles, just 2 miles shorter than Olympus Mons. But Mars's big boy isn't just tall. What's truly interesting about this mountain isn't its height, but its ridiculously gentle slope. Apart from its 2.5-mile-high cliffs at the edge, this massive mountain is like a giant plateau, with an average slope of only 5%. For comparison, Everest has an average slope of 15.5% and a maximum of 22.6%, meaning Everest is much steeper than Olympus Mons, despite being much smaller overall. To give you some perspective, that 5% slope stretches over a distance of around 186 miles from the cliffs to the summit, covering an area roughly the size of 8 Californias. In 2021, a group of Swedish researchers estimated the cost of a 2038 mission to conquer Olympus Mons. And the result? A mind-blowing $37.5 billion. To put that in perspective, it's like buying 150 million PlayStation 5, or enough to send half the world on a first-class trip to the moon with snacks included. But the good news is, if you made it to the top, you wouldn't have to worry about the ozone layer anymore. Because depending on where you put this mountain, you might already be above it. Even more fun, if you were to kidnap someone and drop them on the summit of Olympus Mons, they wouldn't realize they're on such a massive mountain because of the gentle slope and enormous size. The farthest thing they'd see from the summit would be the horizon about 50 miles away, which is still just part of the mountain.
Really, nigga?
On the flip side, if you were standing anywhere on Mars, you wouldn't easily see the whole shape of this volcano, since the summit would always be out of sight. Surprised? If so, smash that like button. Which fact blew your mind? Drop a comment. As always, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Omnicessory, and ring the bell to keep getting your brain exploded. Until next time, stay curious and goodbye.